I understand it hasn't been that popping yet for boxing this year, but to tell us about all the stuff that's really popping that is happening in boxing, who else am I going to bring on? I have to bring on none other than the guru himself, B-Cam, to join us on the show right off the bat. We got the man. B, welcome to the show, man. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Yo, thank you for having me. Happy to be back. It's been a while since I've been here, and I haven't been here because it's been a bit of a slow month for boxing. After what was a really explosive December, we've sort of taken a break in January, and the issue of consistency is an issue for boxing, but that's a conversation for another day. Happy to be here and talk some boxing with you, my brother.
Hey, man, I appreciate you. And look, we got to let the people know also, you are officially part of the Fight Podcast team, one of our contributors, the boxing contributor, the guru himself. My man is going to get not only his own consistent segment on the show, he is also getting his own episode weekly. So, brother, thank you for joining the squad, the family.
Yeah, Sergio has the strictest interview process in the entire universe. I've been on the show consistently for about 3 years, and he tells me, hey, you're finally a permanent fixture on the show. Well, thanks, Serge. Thanks.
hey, look, man, we introducing it to the world, man. Like I said, you have been, you know what I'm saying? We're making it official. Like I said, we got merch now. You know how it is.
We get merch and don't know how to act. But it is official. We got merch. We got more segments on the way for you. But yeah, let's get into some boxing.
Get into it. So let me ask you this. It has been a slow month, but there was a little bit of an upset that I think a lot of people didn't anticipate that I have to open up with. Yo, what happened with Gary Russell Jr.?
Gary Russell Jr. got hurt. That's really just what happened. He dropped a split decision up to the scores of 114-114 draw, and then the other two scorecards of 113-115 for Mark Magsayo. Now, it was, I believe, the third round. Gary Russell injured his. Is Gary Russell a southpaw? I can't remember. Do you remember off the top of your head?
Gary Russell, I believe, isn't he a switch hitter? I think he is. He's a southpaw, but he might be a switch hitter. I can check real quick.
Yeah, he is. Ooh, that's not well. Jeez. But Gary Russell, he hurt I believe his left hand. Gary Russell is a southpaw, so it was his right shoulder. He hurt his right shoulder in what I think was the third round, and was pretty much could not throw that jab for the rest of the fight. Now, they announced multiple times during the fight, Gary Russell averages about 38 jabs per round. So without being able to use his jab, he was a one-handed fighter. And we were talking about a guy that was probably a little bit more talented than the guy across from Gervonta Davis. Now, Gary Russell was one-handed, truly one-handed, for a lot longer in the fight. And so he just was not able to overcome the odds. Clearly a guy that he probably would have beat had he had both hands, but with an easy margin decision-wise. But one-handed, it was too much for him, and he did drop and lose his WBC title. What the future holds for Gary Russell, who knows? He's fought once a year for the last few years. Then it's been a 2-year layoff coming into this fight. He has a lot of family issues going on. So it'd be interesting to see what happens with Gary Russell. I think the right thing to do would be for the WBC to give him an immediate rematch, but looks like he's probably going to have to get surgery. And who knows if the WBC really wants him holding that strap, given that his inactivity. So we'll see what happens. I do believe he's as long as he's active, he's going to be a title contender in the 126-pound division. So I look forward to see what happens next in his career, because he's already 33 years old.
Now, do you think, since he has had so much inactivity, finally getting this L, do you think we're going to see him a lot sooner than maybe you would have in the future? Or should I say in the past?
No, because it looks like he may have to get surgery from the shoulder injury. So if he goes the surgery route, then it may be another year at least without Gary Russell.
Wow. What else in the boxing world aside from that is happening? I mean, obviously you have people in that own weight class, coming out there talking trash. You have Ryan Garcia and Kambosos going back and forth. You have, obviously, Devin Haney has been talking spicy, especially after this Gary Russell fight and others like that. What are you most looking forward to coming up?
I'd say February 5th is a pretty big weekend in the sport. If we look at the schedule this weekend, we got everybody from Claressa Shields. We have Keith Thurman coming back, and after a relatively quiet September, it's a good kind of ramp up. Now, who knows why Keith Thurman and Mario Barrios is on pay-per-view? Like I said, another thing that's another conversation for another day. But that will be on pay-per-view this weekend. What else we have? We have Leo Santa Cruz fighting on that undercard. We have Luis Neri fighting on that card. We also have Jesse Rodriguez versus Carlos Cuadras. Jesse Rodriguez is a last-minute sub I can't remember who he subbed in. I think he subbed in for Sor Rungvisai, who I believe contracted
Right. Who's a
COVID.
monster.
Yeah, he's contracted COVID. We have Chris Eubank, your favorite fighter, going off this weekend on the same fight.
That's your boy.
On the same card with Clarissa Shields, who will be fighting in her own title fight. She's even teased moving down to 147. We know 147 is the division that Jessica McCaskill runs currently. So it's going to be interesting. We also have February 20th. We have the return of Daniel Jacobs and John Ryder. So we don't have too many crazy things on the calendar. Oh, and then February 19th, we also have Amir Khan versus Kell Brook. What I am looking forward to, this is already, I believe it's official and it's on the calendar. I believe we're looking at March, would be the rematch between Jermell Charlo and Sergi. Is that what is the guy's name?
It starts with a C, I want to say, but
Brian Castano. Brian Castano.
Yep, Castano. There we go. Oh, by the way, did you see? And again, we have about another minute with you before you got to take off. And thank you so much for joining us today on the show. But you saw Amir Khan was training with Bud Crawford for this fight.
I did see that, and that's not going to help his chin at all. So we'll see how he performs. It may help his conditioning. It may give him some skills. But hey, look, we've seen a lot with Amir Khan, and nothing is going to help his chin. Also,
it's not his skills.
A couple other results that I want to make sure I touch on real quick. I know a guy that you and I like, Subriel Matias. He was on the Gary Russell Jr. undercard. It was a rematch against the only guy who has beat him. Now, I think his mental was a bit off that fight because that was the fight after he unfortunately essentially took the life of Maxim Dadashev, a huge tragedy in the sport. He fought Ananya right after. Ananya got the points went over him. Matias was able to stop him in brutal fashion in the 9th round. This guy Ananya would not stop coming forward. I've never seen it where the doctor stopped a fight because someone could not follow their finger. I know you guys have seen when a fighter has a rough round, the doctor will go in the corner. He says, "Hey, follow my finger." Puts one finger up, moves it from left to right. He couldn't follow the finger. The doctor just had to stop the fight. That was the right decision. He was taking a absolute beating, and I didn't want to see any more tragedies in the ring. That was the right decision. I'm really excited to see the future of Subriel Matias. I would love to see a showdown with him and Regis Prograis. It would be an absolute war at 140. So that's a fight I want to make mention of. Somehow Sergio Martinez is still fighting. He did take a 10-round decision this past Thursday, January 27th. Conseil.
His phone froze a little bit there, brother. Hopefully we get him right back in a second.
Also,
but there he is. Beautiful. Got you back.
And also potential Canelo Alvarez opponent was maybe a bit unimpressive this weekend with Makabu taking a split decision victory over, oh my gosh, Minchunu. And honestly,
that's why Canelo wanted to fight Makabu.
I will tell you, with my current setup, I was able to watch the fight. Now, look, wow, guys, listen. Don King doing pay-per-views in 2022 is not good for boxing. It looked like one of those. It looked like we were watching footage from an old ECW event. That's what it looked like. Have you ever seen the footage from the old ECW events? That's what it looked like. Absolutely tragic. But I was able to see Makabu and heavyweight contender Trevor Bryan both take decision wins. Makabu, like I said, was not that impressive. Maybe unimpressive enough for Canelo to take the fight. Maybe Canelo just goes a different direction altogether because he just isn't big enough a draw. So we'll see what happens there. But that's a rundown of all the recent, pretty much all of the action in January. Aside from Luis Ortiz.
Well, no.